So, I've never seen Avatar. And on top of having never seen the biggest movie of all time, I also have no idea what it's even about. The primary discourse online surrounding this movie is just people talking about how nobody ever talks about it, in that it made no cultural significance, even though it is the highest grossing movie. So these are all the things I'm vaguely aware about it. Blue people, science, forests, groundbreaking visuals, papyrus font, that's it. But all of that is about to change. Tonight I am seeing the cinema 2-week re-release in 3D, and I am very excited, but obviously have no idea what to expect. So because of this, we're going to see how Avatar stacks up against a pair of completely fresh eyes and from a 2022 perspective. 13 years and about 3 hours later, we're going to answer the most burning question of them all. How does Avatar hold up? Let's go.
3 hours later.
Guys, I'm a little confused. Where are all the blue peeps? What was with this little kid throwing some rocks around about?
And I'm the Avatar.
Bruh.
This was all very strange. Just kidding guys, that was from the hit 2010 live action Last Airbender movie. Awesome movie from what I've heard. But we're talking about the Blue Avatar today, which I just watched. And guess what? Drumroll please. That's a pretty good movie right there. I am now the #1 Avatar fan. Lots to take in, lots to unpack. Let's start with... So a little refresher for everybody. In the distant future, on an alien planet known as Pandora, lived the species Na'vi. In order to gain more information on the planet and obtain a highly valuable resource, humans link their minds to avatars, which are like human Na'vi hybrids, in order to explore the terrain. A wheelchair-bound former Marine, through his avatar, begins to fall greatly in love with this new world, its people, and one particular Na'vi, and is therefore drawn into the battle of survival of Pandora against his own people. So what I in no way expected going into this, was that this is actually a pretty goofy movie. And I ain't talking max goof. Like the resource they're trying to gain from Pandora is called unobtainium. I'ma say that again, unobtainium. That's some Transformers 4 shit right there.
It's the Holy Grail. Transformium. That's what we're calling it.
Are you sure about that?
The film for the most part is on that level of perfectly cheesy and corny, with at certain points becoming a little bit too over the top that may feel dated to some, but I really enjoyed the tone overall. When we break it down, the story is pretty simple, and relies on tropes we've seen time and time again. Person becomes part of a group in order to obtain something, the group begrudgingly accepts, unaware of their ulterior motives. Over the course of the narrative they genuinely fall in love with the group or a person, but soon their secret is revealed. We get a "you lied to us" scene, but then during a last act of conflict they reunite and join forces again, forgive and forget, overcoming the villain who demanded the person to join the group in the first place. Bada bing, bada boom. So we've seen this before, but we've never seen anything like this before. You get me? This basic through line helps guide us through to these incredible moments which are genuinely innovative and totally unique. The like half an hour long action sequence near the end of the film? Insane. When he flies on the cool ass beast for the first time? Awesome. Story is obviously a deeply important aspect, but I can also sometimes forgive derivative storylines if the storytelling is phenomenal. Which it is. The sheer scope and scale of everything is still just jaw-dropping and amazing, which is even more impressive considering the spectacle of many movies today, which brings us on nicely to my favourite aspect of the film. The entire experience of the movie is easily the best part about it. The world is just so fascinating and exciting, and the film is filled to the brim with stunning world building. One of my favourite little moments is when we first arrive on Pandora, and we just see this truck driving past with massive arrows in its wheels, easing us into the scale of the story and intriguing us to want to know more. You can clearly tell they spent years crafting this planet and its life cycle, and it shows. Each planet is immensely detailed, even if it isn't on screen for long, and has its own designated section on the bloody Avatar wiki. Pandora being this intriguing and unique to me is even more remarkable within the current landscape of how many fictional worlds and universes we're bombarded with, and how it was entirely created and realised from scratch. No book or franchise to fall back on, something completely new. Like they made a whole entire new language. Imagine making a language. Imagine making a language just for a movie. Scratch that, imagine actually making this movie. I can't even fathom it. On the point of the movie being an experience more than anything, I do think without seeing this on a massive screen and in 3D, I might not be as enthralled. As previously mentioned, the story isn't its strong suit, but for me it's all about that sense of being overcome by and transported to this brand new place. The music greatly helps with this, and it's also awesome. Many sequences are totally intertwined with the music, and I just love the atmosphere of it. It's my jam. Actually, I probably wouldn't like to listen to it on like a rainy day. That would just be a bit weird. I can totally understand this movie or world not being someone's cup of tea, because you know, we all turn up with an expectation of what we want out of a movie. Though personally, I can accept this being something pretty different. But one expectation we all share going into this movie is that it's gonna look amazing. Moving us on to... So how did the supposedly groundbreaking effects of the time hold up 13 years later? Guess what? they still look pretty darn good. There's obviously moments where you can tell what you're seeing is something generated in a computer, but my view on CGI and visual effects in many cases is that if you're showing me something completely new, something I could have and have never seen before, then I'm okay with it maybe looking a little bit off. To me, it's far more distracting in instances where something could have easily been achieved practically, or lighting technicalities decreasing the green screen quality. But overall, I was pretty blown away by the visuals in this film. The imagery is so rich, and the creatures and environments are just so creative. I also think seeing it in 3D greatly enhanced this, and also probably masked some of the more aged effects. But really, the only fairly noticeable dated effects to me were that during moments where a large amount of CG is interacting with actual people, the robot mechs being the main example. The image of a Na'vi holding a human also takes a little to adjust to, as well as seeing famous actors' faces on an avatar for the first time. But the main dated aspect visually was just the repetitive use of digital zooms. They just look kinda bad, and are used too many times, Jim, chill out. However, overall there is some great camera work here on display, and the film just looks pretty great. The POV shots are fun, and I'm a sucker for an opening and closing shot that mirror each other. As George Lucas would say,
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
part of the conversation surrounding this movie not having any cultural significance is that nobody seems to be able to remember or name any of the characters from it. Lol.
Can you name a single character from the 2009 film Avatar?
Avatar. Yeah, I don't know. Is that the blue people?
That is the blue people, yes.
Where Avatar's in like the Airbender?
No.
Oh, no.
But that changes today, as I, the #1 Avatar fan, can do so. The main character of the 2009 smash hit Avatar is called Jay Sully. Wait. It's called Jake Sully. Shit. The characters of Avatar are pretty archetypal and cartoonish, but to me, that just adds to the fun, kinda corny nature of the movie. They may not be the strongest of characters, but you know, I still enjoy following Sully into Pandora. I buy into his romance with Neytiri. I like the dynamic between the army and other scientists with Sigourney Weaver's character. I genuinely feel for the Na'vi people, particularly during the best scene in the movie where the tree is destroyed. The sheer scope of the set piece helping emphasize this truly heartbreaking moment, where you get caught up in the raw emotion. At least I do anyway. And then this makes me despise the villains even more. The Colonel character might be too much for some people, as he is so over the top, but it's just so much fun to watch. The most annoying character is probably, yeah, this guy. Because like, you're not a character, you're just a prop for commentary. But I do think the characters, as well as the story, in some way had to feel broad and rather familiar, in order for us to be able to latch on and follow them into this distinctly brand new experience and environment. When watching it for the first time, I was surprised by how genuinely romantic certain parts feel, with it being so successful. It's an accomplishment that general audiences didn't just easily dismiss the intrinsic unusualness of these blue peeps kissing and forming a relationship. In part, I think due to the characters being relatable. You understand how Sully could become so entranced and fall in love with this world and its people, because we as an audience do the same. And you're kidding yourself if you don't remember Norm. Norm Spellman? Everybody remembers Norm Spellman. Now let's move on to... I'm kind of in love with the fact that this is currently the highest grossing movie of all time. Something so bizarre and weird but wonderful and creative, meticulously crafted yet also simple, fun and massive, and on top of everything, original. When we look at, let's say, the 15 highest grossing movies of all time, regardless of quality, only 2 of them are brand new stories not based within a pre-existing franchise or a sequel of some sort. And what do they both have in common? Both by my boy Jim. James Cameron did what I'm sure every filmmaker in some way wants to achieve, and that is create your passion project, something deeply fueled by your own imagination, and then have it be successful. Now obviously box office shouldn't be the driving factor of art, but you know, you want people to see your movie. And people did see Avatar. It's the biggest movie of all time if you didn't know. And a movie where a bunch of blue people do this in order to pray to a big tree is one we as a culture have decided to be the biggest of all time. I'm okay with that. So does this mean it's the best movie of all time? Obviously not. Kung Fu Panda 2 is, but I don't think that's what it's trying to be. And also, since when did money signify quality? What James Cameron offered us was a brand new cinematic experience, and that's just what he provided. So yeah, maybe the crux of the story feels tired even by 2009 standards, and maybe the characters aren't all that memorable, but what I'm not going to forget is the feeling of Avatar. The vivid imagery, the awe-inspiring journey through and into this brand new world, guided by a big-budget filmmaking master. And in an age of disposable and passable content that we consume and then never give a second thought to again, I think that is something pretty special, and for many, was worth the price of admission alone.
One of the things I was thinking when I was watching Avatar was when I did Kill Bill, I had these grandiose visions in my head of the experience of watching the movie, and I actually wanted it to be more like a ride. than just a normal watching a movie at a Cineplex and then you go home and you have pie. I don't think I did that. I don't think it was the ride. It was good, and I actually probably the thing I've done I'm the most proudest of. It wasn't quite the ride in my most vision. And when I saw Avatar, I go, that's the ride.
Avatar still holds up in the sense of offering an experience like no other, and its incredible visuals. While its tropiness and perhaps lackluster characters are still very much present, that's not what the movie is to me. It's this strange, crazy, wild, intriguing, thrilling ride, an unexpected phenomenon I think would be incredibly difficult to replicate ever again. Which brings us on to my final point. Right now there are 4 announced Avatar sequels. Avatar 2 The Way of Water this December, Avatar 3 The Seed Bearer in 2024, Avatar 4 The Tolkien Rider 2026, and Avatar 5 and Avatar 5 The Quest 2028. First off, why do they all have terrible titles? Like, who genuinely approved the Seed Bearer as a name? You're gonna put more thought process into a badger tickler than the name of your movies? Okay. And secondly, are people actually gonna care this much? How do you make a sequel to something where its main selling point was showing us something we've never seen before? Cause you know, now we've seen it. Before. And what if the story again isn't that solid? Can the world building, experiential nature of the franchise, and supposedly once again groundbreaking visuals really carry an audience alone for 4 more films? I'm so fascinated to see how Avatar 2 plays out. Is it in any way possible for it to be as big as the first, especially since it's been so long? I mean, I'm obviously gonna see it, because you know, I'm the #1 Avatar fan, and I'm definitely intrigued on the basis alone to see how they simply tackle a sequel to Avatar, as well as to see how far the visuals have improved. From what we've seen of it so far, I'm liking the direction on focusing on a new environment of the ocean, and many of the shots do look beautiful, but I'm a little cautious by the fact the villain seems to be returning from the first. I don't want just a retread of the first to ease us back into this world. I want to see something new, but we just don't really know what the story's gonna be. Maybe it will exceed all expectations. Maybe it will be the greatest story ever told. Maybe Avatar 3 The Seed Bearer will be a masterpiece. We just don't know. But I'm intrigued to find out, I'm just not 100% sure if so many other people will be. And I guess there's only one thing left to say.
I see you.
What? No. No. Skadoosh.